So there I was in the air again, drinking a double vodka 7. I was in with a salesman and businessman. I had my small suitcase with extra shirts, underwear, stockings, 3 or 4 books of poems, plus typescript of 10 or 12 new poems, and a toothbrush and toothpaste. It was ridiculous to be going off somewhere to get paid for reading poetry. I didn't like it, and I could never get over how silly it seemed. To work like a mule until you were 50 at meaningless, low jobs, and then suddenly to be flitting about the country, a gadfly with a drink in hand. That's good stuff.
Oh, hey there, Thomas. Happy Wednesday. You know, it's Wednesday at 3 p.m. here on the East Coast. What do you say we do Bitcoin Talk Show?
That sounds good, Derek.
Let's talk about Bitcoin. Oh, and hey, if you've got something to share, you can tweet at me, BTC Talk. Call in 1-708-23-COINS. That's 1-708-23-COINS. Spells out 708-232-6467. You can also Skype BitcoinTalkShow. Send a contact request. It will be accepted, and then I will put you on the air. But first, I think we've got a lot to talk about, Thomas, especially Bitcoin. Is it dead?
No, Bitcoin isn't dead.
All right, that's
I'll check that website. I'll check that website though, just in case.
I was very concerned because I was seeing the stock price, and it looked something like this. And or it's not a stock price with Bitcoin. It's just the price of a Bitcoin. It's going way down. I got so disappointed and depressed about the price that I stopped looking at it. Once it went below. Oh, what do we got here, Thomas? What you got?
Is Bitcoin dead? No.
All right, there we go.
Not dead. Well,
not dead.
It's 385, and the average is looking up right now. Anyway, not in this chart though.
Nope. So,
only if you zoom in a lot.
So why is this happening, Thomas? Help us explain. Help us understand. Did Bitcoin somehow lose all of its value when PayPal decided to integrate? That was the news last week. We're like, hey, PayPal and Square, they love Bitcoin. They're going to integrate it. They're listening to their customers, the people who want to use Bitcoin. And then the price. Why? Why would it go down?
The news has been nothing but good. But the Google search results have been down since the peak in January at the 1200 mark. I think a lot of people bought in at that point, or they bought in at 800. And I agree with the theory where they bought on margin, and they had to pay back the margin. That led to like a huge margin call where everyone had to sell their investment to pay back their margin. And traders just took advantage of that, pushed the price down. The technical said that we were toast 650. And I mocked them and didn't listen to them. And now we appear to be 386. So,
will you listen next time, Thomas?
I will, you chart-reading bastards.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot to learn from those chart readers. I never really put much stock in it when I was trading stocks. Back before Bitcoin, I was more into, like, is the company making money? Like, do the fundamentals look sound? You know, what's behind the company and the technology that they're using? Not so much like following the day-to-day charts, but it looks like there's a lot we can learn from those charts. I guess it's because it's like this mass hypnosis. Like, because so many people are looking at the charts, then the charts matter, right? Is that what's going on?
I think that's what's happening. Like you said with stock trading, I always used to try to buy companies that I used. So I bought Google, Apple, Twitter, Facebook, companies like this, products that I'm involved in. And really that's been all, and now I'm involved in Bitcoin.
Hey, let's take a call. This is a talk show. Caller
from
718 area code. You are on Bitcoin Talk Show. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey guys, this is Egon5 from New York. Egon5 from Reddit.
Hey, welcome.
Yeah, so I had a question. I want to know your thoughts. I've been seeing change tip around a lot more, and I was just wondering what your guys' thoughts were on that. I wasn't sure whether to use it yet or anything about that. I just want to know your thoughts. That's all.
Yeah, awesome, great question. ChangeTip is a little service that lets you tip people in Bitcoin on Reddit, also Twitter and YouTube, right?
YouTube is the killer app there. YouTube comments right in the comments.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Although I have to be honest and say I have not employed ChangeTip as I should be. Like I know people have tipped me some bit cents, and I guess I just like spaced and didn't notice. I don't get an email about it or something, and then I never followed through with the next step. So I don't know. What about you, Thomas? Do you use it?
I use it. I like it. And the main thing is you have to set up your wallet. So when you get your first tip, you set up your wallet. Once your wallet's set up, additional tips will just flow into your wallet. So it is really easy to accept them after you set up your first account.
Yeah.
So.
All right, that's good enough.
And the other thing about Change is it doesn't use the blockchain. So whenever you're sending something on blockchain, you're paying a fee for it. So if you wanted to send me like a tip for a penny, it's kind of going to get eaten up by blockchain fees, which I think around 4 cents. So, but with ChangeTip, you can actually send micro payments. So it really does seem like the future of Bitcoin is here with ChangeTip. I mean, obviously they're a company. We don't want to plug them too much for free, but yeah, I'd use it. I'd try it out. I definitely, if you want, and there's a lot of opportunities for outreach there. People have tipped Snoop Dogg in ChangeTip. They tipped William Shatner in ChangeTip, and although we don't really know if they've managed to set up a Bitcoin wallet and transfer their money out of ChangeTip or buy something from ChangeTip directly, like you could go to Gift and set up the transaction, then send your money directly from ChangeTip to Gift. We don't know that they've actually spent their Bitcoins, but they are accepting it because once you set up your wallet, whatever tips you get on Twitter, YouTube, Reddit, it just goes right into your ChangeTip wallet. So it's a really cool service.
Do you want to show me how it works? And was I accurate saying it can work on Reddit and Twitter as well?
Yep, Reddit and Twitter. And now the big thing for me is YouTube comments. So right there in the comments on my videos, like actually we could just go to, let's
show
see.
me.
I've got a little. There was one on my video today. I think Howlard left me a tip for $1, and it's really cool. And I don't even. We'll just go ahead and pause this and scroll down. So here it is right here. Howlard just said $1 plus ChangeTip, and what that does is it automatically tips the person who made the video, which is Mad Bitcoins, and it tips him $1. And ChangeTip comes along later, and it puts up this little comment here. I've delivered a Bitcoin tip worth 2.599 millibits, $1, to your ChangeTip wallet. So the tip just goes into your wallet, and your wallet is connected to your Twitter account, so it's one of those trusted services where it uses Twitter to log in, or whatever service you use to set up the ChangeTip. And then there it is right there. And if we want to go out here to Twitter, we can just go ahead and set this up. We'll go, let's see, Derek, there it is, Derek J. Me, and we'll say, how about $1? And then on here you just say change tip. You just add change tip. So the way it basically works is person I want to send money to, amount of money I want to send, and then the name change tip. Now unfortunately, they have a bunch of goofy little things, like you could send someone a donut or you could send someone a high five, and I think it's a nice system, but it really confuses things. People don't understand what those are. It's hard to really, like, people send me a beer, and it's like $3.50, and it's all kinds of weird little shortcut things.
I like that, though. I think sending someone a beer is kind of nicer than sending them $3.50, for example.
It's nice, but I just think it makes it more complicated to tip because you never know, like, if what the value of a beer is going to be, but this way is nice and straightforward. You could put in like millibits, you could put in 1,000 bits or whatever you want to put in. But right here, this is the main format of the tip, and I just push tweet, and I think I still have $1 in there, hopefully.
Well, you did it now that you've been tipped earlier today.
Well, there it is. So now it says, Derek J. Me, I added this 2 bits to your wallet. And it looks like you have set up your wallet for your Derek J. Me account.
Yeah, so all right, here's
have to set up a wallet for each one of your accounts, yeah.
We got Mad Bitcoins just tweeted me 16 seconds ago. We got @me, change tip, I can expand it out. And looks like ChangeTip already responded 29 seconds ago. Weird. How did they respond faster than you sent the message? I guess it's just a timing issue thing.
Yeah, they're just using Twitter's API. So it's just the API specs for things. And if you want, you can go ahead and log into your ChangeTip account, and you would have the dollar there. And right now they have no
How do I
fee.
do that? Do I have to go to a website to log into ChangeTip?
Yep, you just follow that link there, and then it's going to say log in, and it'll link to your Twitter account, and it'll say, are you sure you want to log in with Twitter? And it'll log you in, and then it'll show that you have a dollar, and then you could extract that dollar to any Bitcoin address you like. Right now, there's no fees on ChangeTip withdrawals until January 15th, so it's a very cool service they're offering right now, a good deal. And they do deserve some fees. I mean, after January 15th, I'm not going to feel bad, giving them a cut of the tips, because clearly they're allowing these tips to happen. So here's your main page. If you go to the upper right-hand corner, it has a pull-down menu. The interface is a little too informative, but if you just go to Money at the top there, that'll show you actual money that you have in the account and how to take it out. So basically, you just copy-paste your Bitcoin address into there. Say you want to send the money out, and I mean, you could, like I said, you could send it to gift. You could send it to need to pay a friend or something, and they could do it directly, or you could send it to your blockchain or Coinbase wallet or any other wallet.
Man, this is pretty slick. Look, you can send your Bitcoins out via wallet address, send the amount. That's pretty easy. I like it. Oh, look, and it has like little tip history, so you can read that. That's great. Wow, this is awesome. I got to get using it. I'm glad that caller brought this up, because this is something that comes up like every week, and for whatever reason, I just haven't moved on it. But it seems like it is the future of payments and how shows like this would get funded. So, yeah, thank you, caller. Doesn't matter.
Well, it started off with just the Twitter tip bots and the Reddit tip bots, and there's different ones for Dogecoin, there's different ones for Redcoin, and there's 100 different ones, and I kind of had to go around and check them all, see if I had any money in each one every month when I need money. And ChangeTip's really nice. It brings it all into one place, all the different accounts, Reddit, Twitter, YouTube, Google+. A couple other ones I hadn't even heard of. I guess you can get tips on GitHub now, something called StockTwit, and Tumblr, of course, Tumblr.
Yeah.
And so very cool.
Stock stuff. What's going on with Reddit? Are they issuing stock in cryptocurrency?
Well, they've raised $50 million in a seed funding round, so now they have money. And they've said that they want to give 10% of that, which I guess is $5 million, back to the users. I kind of wish they would just give it to the users directly, maybe use Bitcoin, like an existing system of cryptocurrency. But they're talking about creating their own Reddit currency. Credits is what people are calling it already. Very clever, of course, Reddit. And I don't know, when you create your own token that's supposed to have value, I wonder where the value comes from. So
yeah, I do wish they would use Bitcoin. It would solve a lot of like startup problems, like creating.
Yeah, because there's obviously, I mean, based upon everything I've seen in the other altcoins, there's going to be a pump and there's going to be a dump. And if these people give themselves a bunch of this credit in advance, or maybe some power users get a bunch of this credit, and they all decide we're going to dump at 12:01 p.m., and you're not invited to that party, then you're going to be in the dump with the rest of us at the bottom.
Let's put a message out to Reddit. Hey, great idea. Thanks for accepting for being into cryptocurrencies, but you should probably just use Bitcoin instead of issuing your own. It's not too late to backpedal on that, and you'll make a lot of people very happy by just using Bitcoin. I don't know. Just a thought.
It's a similar system to Let's Talk Bitcoin Coin, where I wish they would just use Bitcoin and just give their writers very small amounts of Bitcoin, give their commenters very small amounts of Bitcoin, and then if, like we believe, Bitcoin price comes back, all those people will be rewarded for holding that Bitcoin. Because
what do you think is the attraction of people to create their own cryptocurrency instead of just using an existing one like Bitcoin?
I think the attraction is that you get a big bag full of it. That when you say you're going to create 21 million tokens and you do it on Counterparty, you do it on Doge Party, you do it on any of these new systems, you get all 21 million tokens. You are, I mean, even Satoshi Nakamoto didn't have all 21 million Bitcoin to start with. But in these counterparty type systems, you get all the currency. So I think that's incredibly attractive to people.
Yeah, but not to me. I'm not into that. I want.
Unless you're holding the bag, it's not exciting. But remember, the people who create these things are generally the ones holding the bag. So.
Hey, so that was exciting. I saw Bitcoin in the Simpsons intro, apparently. Have you seen this?
I've seen just the still image, but yeah.
Yeah, I've only seen the still image. I'll do a screen share here of what I've seen. But apparently this is in the new intro for, like, while the Simpsons, and you like see all the town and
every episode? Oh wow.
That's what I thought. That was the impression I was under. If that's not correct, maybe someone can correct me. But
that sounds. I mean, they've been adding stuff to the intro for a long time, ever since it went 3 a.m. after the movie. So.
Yeah, well, it says send me your lunch money online, accepting Bitcoin. I thought that was pretty cool because there's lots of brainiacs who write that show, and
Oh yeah, they did have a reference actually to Bitcoin in the episode. I think it was about 6 months ago. Krusty the Clown said he'd lost a lot of money.
All his money.
Yeah. Poor Krusty can't get a break.
Yeah.
But
hey, this was
I love Krusty the Clown, man. He had the greatest quote ever. The Camp Krusty episode. Why did you do it, Krusty? Why did you sell your name to such a terrible kids camp? He's like, they drove a dump truck full of money up to my house. A dump truck. Very emotive, Krusty. I can't do the Krusty. You get the idea. The dump truck full of.
It's a dump truck full of money. You can't have that with Bitcoin, but you can mine Bitcoin with paper and pencil at about 2/3 of 1 hash per day. Kevin Sheriff on his blog wrote, I decided to see how practical it would be to mine Bitcoin with pencil and paper. It turns out that the SHA-256 algorithm used for mining is pretty simple and can in fact be done by hand. Not surprisingly, the process is extremely slow compared with the hardware mining and is entirely impractical. But performing the algorithm manually is a good way to understand how it works. Take a look at what this actually looks like when a person wants to mine Bitcoins by hand. Here is a screenshot of Ken's work. You can see he chose to do this on graph paper. Good choice. But I have no idea what's happening here, Thomas. Can you make heads or tails of this?
Not exactly. I mean, he's definitely doing some kind of math.
Yep.
And working in different directions. He's got multiple formulas. And I'd have to watch him do a line or two, straight through, see what he's up to. But
well, he's got a video. Shall we watch it?
To do one round of the SHA-256, we start with 8 inputs: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. For the first round, these are constants provided by the NSA. No joke. So our first step is going to be convert these to binary, which is straightforward but a little tedious. So we'll start with ABC. 6 is 0110, 1010, 0000, 1001, 1110, 6011, 601. Now for the first operation, we're going to compute the majority function on A, B, and C. What that means is simply we look at each of the 3 bits and see are there more zeros or ones. 010, there's more zeros. 100, more zeros. 111, ones win. 011, ones win. 0, 1. And what this does is it mixes up A, B, and C in a nonlinear way, which makes it harder to break the hash function. Now we'll convert this back to decimal. 0011 is 3, 7, 8.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
Wow.
Now our next step is we're going to take A and we're going to shift all the bits 2 positions to the right. So we're going to start here. 0110, 1010, 0000, 10. We shift A right 13 bits. We shift the whole thing 22 positions to the right. Now our next step is to sum these three shifted values. We're doing it modulo 2, or we're XORing the 3 bits together, or as it's easiest to think of, we are simply looking to see if it's odd or even. If there's an odd number of ones, we put a 1. If there's an even number of ones, we put a 0. If there's a 1 that's odd, odd, even, even.
I'm so glad he did this. I had no idea this could even be done.
So CE20B47E is the result.
I heard about it, but it's something different entirely to actually see it.
Now we're going to move down and look at EFG. We're going to convert these to binary, 5, 0, 0.
So what does he mean he's converting EFG and converting them into binary? Does he mean the letters? He's converting the letters?
Now we're going to combine E, F, and G in an interesting nonlinear way, which is called the choosing.
Yeah, I'm going to pause this so that I can ask some questions, because I'm a little
bit
confused.
Of E, if it's 0,
so is he saying he has to convert the letters of the alphabet to their binary? And then, like, what's he starting with? What's his starting point? He said there were constants provided by the NSA. I don't know. Help me understand what's been happening so far.
Well, I don't know. I dropped out of assembly, so I mean, I think he's converting it's a basic. He's starting out the chart, so he's starting out with ABC just to get a feel for what's going on. I assume if he was doing an actual hash, that it would be like different numbers and letters. But maybe this is like a key that he's building.
I see.
And then, of course, binary is just it's a system of zeros and ones. So instead of like base 10 that we usually think about, you would go to base 2. So like, I don't know, A would be 0. Well, like 1 would be 0, 1, and then 2 would be 1, 0. I think is how it works. So 3 would be like 1, 0, 1. I'm not sure. Let me pull up a binary chart.
And I'm confused. I have no idea what he's doing. Let's skip to the end and see what the conclusion is.
Compute our new E value. We're going to take D, which is A 5, 4, F 5, 3, A, and we're going to add our previous sum, which was F 5, 7. That's our new E value, and our new F value is our old E. Our new G comes from here, and our old G becomes our new H. So we have now completed one round of the SHA-256 hashing.
Okay, there you have it.
One round.
I don't get it.
So I mean, I can't tell you about the binary thing because they did teach me this. So the binary starts out with 4 zeros and that's a 0. Then the 3 zeros and a 1 is 1. And then as you can see, the 1 moves up to the digit here to represent 2. So 0010 is 2, and then 0011 is 3. So you see how that works? And then it moves up to the next digit. 0100 is 4. And then the next one, 0101, is 5. You see the progression?
Yeah, I see that.
So that's the basic binary where instead of having 10 digits to deal with, you have 2 digits. So every number. And then as you can see, it gets up to hex down here. And this is probably what he means about converting the A. That A would be 1010, which is, again, just taking it as a hex number. Hex is base 8. I think, or well, it looks like it's base 9 here, but I thought it was base 8.
6?
Yeah, I guess it could be 6. I mean, but they're going up to 9, and then they start at A. But yeah, you have to learn all these horrible things in assembly, and that's where you actually write machine language code that talks directly to the processor, and you have to do all the stuff like memory modules and how you're going to handle that kind of thing, and how you're going to handle the memory, where you're going to store things in the different registers. And all the registers are numbered like this. And it was a really big headache. So I totally dropped that class.
Yeah, that's over my head. But
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. What I get from this as a layman is that it can be done by hand. It's not just magical computers processing nothing, like we were all duped by some mathematical wizards who were just like, oh yeah, use Bitcoin, it's a real thing. Like, no, it's based in math. It exists in the world. There are people of all different cultures and languages who can do the same math and come up with the same numbers. It can be done by hand. So that gives me a lot of confidence. Not that we would use Bitcoin in a post-apocalyptic society where we need to all hash our, I don't know. What is he hashing even? Well, I don't even know what he's hashing.
Well, I mean, hashing is the process where they develop new bitcoins, right? So he's trying to figure out what the next number in sequence is, right?
So do you have something that you start with? Or I guess you start with the constants that the NSA provides every time.
Well, I think he's doing that for an example purpose, but you would probably start with like the most recently developed block, and you'd go to that, and then that would be some kind of starting point to get you to the next block. And once you found the block, then you get the reward. So.
Well, what else is going on in the world of Bitcoin this week, Thomas?
Well, I went to San Francisco last night for the Bitcoin meetup, and we had a panel discussion on Bitcoin adoption with some people from BTC Jam and BitGo, the multi-signature wallet, as well as someone from ChangeTip and Davi Barker from Bitcoin Not Bombs.
Cool. That's awesome. How'd it go?
It was good. The microphones didn't work, so that was really frustrating for everyone involved. And the microphones were for the live stream, and the live stream, I hate to say this, but the live stream went nowhere. The live stream was live during the stream, then it totally disappeared. Now we're waiting for an unknown person to upload a YouTube video so that we can all enjoy the video that we shot yesterday. So, unlike our videos that go instantly onto YouTube, it's completely impossible to view this video now. So it's pretty much impossible to promote, impossible to talk about. I got a parking ticket and I paid for a garage, so I'm out $100. And
parking ticket and pay for a garage. I thought
I'm a very lucky person. San Francisco loves me.
I thought being in a garage, that makes it so that you don't get a ticket.
The city garage closed at 11 p.m., so I had to hike back there at 10:30 in a big rush to get my car out before it would be locked in and I'd be stuck in the city overnight.
Why would they lock a car in a garage at 11? That seems ridiculous in a major city.
I don't know. It drives me mad every time I have to check the things because I'm all worried about it, because if my car's locked in a garage, I guess I'm sleeping in it. I don't know what my other options are at that point. It gets cold in the city too. So I got my car out of the garage, went to a place that looked like you could park. Most cities can park on the street during the night, but not San Francisco. They have street cleaning 3 days a week, and if you stay to 12:01 a.m., which is a pretty common occurrence, trying to go to a bar or something, 12:01 a.m., they'll ticket you for being in the way of the street cleaner. And yeah, they're doing street cleaning even during the drought. I think they do it without water. I'm not sure how efficient that is. But yeah, so then I got a $66 parking ticket for getting in the way of the street cleaner. And I know the last time I went to San Francisco for Jason King's run across America for homeless people, I got a $74 parking ticket because the parking meters in San Francisco, they go until like 10 or 11 at night. Whereas in Sacramento, they end at like 6 o'clock, in the evening. So I'd put money in the meter even. Like I gave them money, but that was not enough. I wrote them a very nice letter saying I was there to support homeless people and to support Jason, and I myself am unemployed and flat broke. And they wrote me back saying that nothing was wrong with their meters and that I should pay. So, and I'm pretty sure, I guess I'll try to write a letter on this one, but it's just really crippling when you don't have a job and you're visiting a new city, and the new city just keeps taking money from you. So.
Well, it's like that everywhere. The parking thing, I got a parking ticket this week as well, Thomas. But on principle, I never fill a parking meter because I don't believe in paying for parking. I believe that the property owner should pay for parking if I'm going to be their customer and I'm going to pay them money to use their business or service, that they should pay for the parking that I'm using if they own the property. So I think it's ridiculous. My parking ticket is only $5, however, and so I will be taking it to court instead of paying it, and I will make them really work for that $5. They already
Yeah,
have.
I figure if I took this to court in San Francisco, I'd probably manage to get a parking ticket while I was at court for the ticket. So I.
Yeah, that has happened. That happens at the courthouse here in Keene. They just converted all of the parking spaces at the courthouse into metered parking, and so now if your trial goes longer than 2 hours, sorry, you're gonna be back in there. It's pretty funny.
What a great government.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's unnecessary, and I think Bitcoin is one of those things that helps people see that the government is unnecessary in the services that it provides, like, making sure that parking has sufficient turnover. Like, a lot of holidays, cities will take parking off. They'll just say, like, oh, well, it's the holidays. Go ahead and park wherever you want, as long as you want. And you would think that would be the time when it would be the most chaotic. Anyway, that's tangent. Neither here nor there. Can't really relate it to Bitcoin. Except that maybe you could, like, have a QR payment for meters, or you could maybe get a QR code from the businesses that you walk into that shows, like, oh, hey, I went to Tom's Eatery, and, so now I don't have to pay for parking. You just put that into the meter or something like that. That would be cool. Anyway, Georgia Tech and BitPay announced Bitcoin integration this week. That's at the top of Bitcoin Reddit, so that must be exciting. And that makes a lot of sense, too, because didn't BitPay's CEO, Tony Galippi, didn't he go to Georgia Tech? I think both
that's.
were from.
Is that the integration of BitPay, or is that the customized wallet?
Let's see. Reading from ramblinrec.com, which appears to be some sort of official Georgia Tech website. The Flats, Georgia Institute of Technology, will be the first university in the world to integrate Bitcoin payments into its stadium concession sales and campus card declining balance account program, announced Wednesday by BitPay, the world's leading Bitcoin payment processor. So it looks like Bitcoin point-of-sales devices will be located in the student section of Bobby Dodd Stadium. In addition to BuzzCard Center, located in Technology Square, will be home to a Bitcoin-enabled point purchase terminal, which will allow for declining balance payments, blah, 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 blah. Basically, students can use Bitcoin to pay for things at stadium events and meals. Great. That's good news. I want to see more. Good job, BitPay. What else we got? How about this Bitcoin Payments Hub thing? Have you figured out what that is? Last week we were speculating that it's the little payment center where when you go to buy something with PayPal, you've got the options to use MasterCard, Visa, your PayPal balance, or maybe now Bitcoin. Do we have any developments on this yet?
I'm not sure they've announced anything more. I mean, there's been a lot of talk to accept it now, but I'm not sure that it's turned on yet.
What are they waiting for?
I don't know.
Okay.
They said they're going to spin off PayPal in 2015 from eBay at the advice of mega investor Carl Icahn. But they're taking his advice like 6 months to a year after he made it. So I don't know strategically that that's the same thing as following someone's advice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he said he was like all about this idea, and they wanted to change the board and do all this stuff, and they're like, no. And then he gave up on it, and then now they brought it back in, and they're doing it. But by waiting, they've allowed Bitcoin to open up again and to be a big thing, and it just because someone gives you advice a few years ago, I'm not sure it's still a good idea. But it's probably because of the Alibaba news that eBay is seeing that marketplace sell at such an incredible value that they want to be a similar marketplace. And if they have PayPal either helping them or hurting them, it might be better to disconnect and separate as two different companies.
Wow, I have a powerful image to share with the audience.
All right.
According to Bitcoin Reddit, protesters are using a P2P mesh network called FireChat in Hong Kong to coordinate and not get shut down. Have you ever seen anything more powerful than this image? Well, yes, I have, but it's still a pretty cool image. And I've used FireChat. Have you, Thomas?
I tried it. It's through what's it called? Open Garden, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it works pretty well. I've used it at conferences, like Bitcoin conferences, where I just want to sign in to the Fire Chat, see who's around, and you can meet up with other people who are, into mesh networks and stuff. It's great.
That would be cool for PorkFest if they had better Wi-Fi, or any other conference where it's sometimes so hard to keep track of your people and get people together for like a meal or something. It would be really nice if you could send a blast. We're gonna go eat here.
I use a two-way radio. That's the best way to communicate short distance.
That's a good. We've also had some action on the World Crypto Network.
Oh, what's going on with that?
Well, on Monday, I went to the Sacramento Bitcoin meetup, and unlike the people in San Francisco, I used YouTube and Google Hangouts to stream my live stream. So it went out live, and it's still available on the internet. Anyone can watch it right now. There's been no interruption of service. It's 100% available. We had a guest speaker named Joe Giacolo. He's don't hate him, but he's a bank regulator. And so he's interested in regulation, but he's trying to get away from the banks. He wants to get into Bitcoin. And so he was as interested in us as we were in him. And they peppered him with questions. I taped the whole question and answer session. So he went on the hot seat for what do you do if you have a Bitcoin ATM? Answer is, we're not sure. And I also gave him the old question about the Federal Reserve leaked tapes. And he didn't like that much. It wasn't a great moment for the Fed. I'm sure you heard about the This American Life story that inside the New York Federal Reserve, they're treating Goldman Sachs more like a client than someone that they're regulating, that they're showing deference and fear to the banks, and that they fired the only woman who was actually interested in regulating them. And I hope she wins her lawsuit. So that was some exciting stuff, and you can watch that on worldcryptonetwork.com. It's in the same link that it's been the entire time. Amazing, huh? And we've also had some incredible developments from Hong Kong, where Occupy Central, we actually had a gentleman, James Bang, is on the ground there. He's from Korea. He's visiting Hong Kong, and he's a friend and a member of the World Crypto Network, and he's been broadcasting live from the protests. So, and this has been on Chris's show right here, live from Hong Kong, and again this morning on Chris Before Coffee. And it's really been interesting to see the way that they're set up over there. They have food coming in on trucks. They have a system where they write down what they need. Like if they need cell phone batteries are a huge thing that they need, and they've pretty much been cycling them in and out. You charge your phone, your battery runs out, you drop the battery back at the thing, you get a new battery, and you go back on your way. And everyone's really working together over there. They have free water, free fruit, and they're just going to stay in the streets. And one of the things James made us aware of is that it's the end of the Chinese national holiday, which is pretty much like Black Friday over there, but it lasts for a week. So all of these businesses that they're occupying the streets of need to sell things right now. So the government is highly motivated, one would think, to listen to these democracy protesters and to perhaps give what they want in order to get the shopping going again. A lot of tourists from China are in Hong Kong to buy things, and they can't buy things right now because of the protests. It's been an interesting developing story over there in Hong Kong.
Speaking of freedom issues, we've got an update on Ross Ulbricht, who, I don't believe we've announced this, has pleaded not guilty to his new drug charges. Ross Ulbricht, of course, the accused ringleader of the now defunct online black market Silk Road. Why would CoinDesk say now defunct online black marketplace? Are they unaware that that Silk Road still exists?
They're probably in denial. They're like, oh, the big Silk Road went down, but that doesn't mean that Agora Marketplace, Cannabis Road, Silk Road 2, I don't know, a dozen others aren't still up and running. It makes it seem like the government's really done something if you're like, oh, the marketplace is closed, but only that one. There's now a dozen more, and I'm sure hundreds more in the future.
Yeah, his charges include narcotics trafficking, conspiracy to traffic fraudulent identification documents, and distribution of narcotics by means of internet. Those charges followed previous allegations that Ross Ulbricht engaged in drug trafficking, computer hacking, money laundering, and engaging in a criminal enterprise. The 30-year-old Texas native appeared in a Manhattan federal court today to answer to the charges issued in the latest statement. That article was from September 5th, so that was a while ago. He is having a trial coming up. November 3rd is when Ulbricht's trial is set to begin. I intend on attending the entire trial, taking notes and live tweeting from the event, getting as much video as I can, doing interviews with the surrounding area. Other attendees I know will be there. So, yikes! It's a really big case. It's really important to anyone who's been following Bitcoin or cares about internet freedom. The case of Ross Ulbricht is so important because it means that if you operate a website where people do bad things on it, then you can be thrown in jail for life just because other people have used your website. It's a really dangerous precedent to set, and I'd prefer that we set the precedent for freedom.
And remember that in the Craigslist case, Craigslist was listed as a common carrier. Many bad things happen on Craigslist, bad things are sold, whatever, bought. That's not Craigslist's fault. Now, they did try to apply the standard to the Ross Ulbricht case unsuccessfully. The judge roundly rejected the standard and said that the Silk Road website was as if you built a house with a bunch of hidden compartments to store drugs in. Clearly, like you've designed the house to store the drugs. This also went on in the ISOHunt case. ISOHunt was a torrent provider, but they were actually just a searcher of torrents. And what they did, though, is they put little things inside, top 10 videos, top 10 music. And because of these categories they created, the judge said the same thing to them, that you are encouraging piracy because you're showing people what the popular things are, therefore you're guilty of encouraging piracy, and they were shut down as well. So
freedom will not be tolerated.
Unless you're in another country. And again, all Ross had to do is get out of the country. I mean, there's some of the things, just stayed in this country for some
Actually,
reason.
I'm not so sure that would have been a solution, Thomas, because wasn't Kim.com raided by the American federal government in New Zealand?
He was, and the Dread Pirate Roberts servers were in Iceland, which people might have thought was safe, but once the feds somehow, and this is one of the big cruxes of the case, is how did the feds get the IP address of the servers in Iceland? We don't know.
Before that, they said the way they did it was by plugging in random variables and then waiting for a bounce back from the site that included its IP address. But we know
they claim that the login page was misconfigured and that these random characters allowed them access to it. But that also sounds like SQL injection. And SQL injection is hacking. And the U.S. government is not allowed to hack someone's computer to prove that they're guilty of a crime. So it's very unclear. And there's also, as everyone knows, the NSA is watching and listening to everything because they love you. And they could have used their NSA things to get involved, and then they work backwards from there, and they develop this cover story so that they don't have to tell us that they used their NSA things because those things are private and they don't want us to know about them. And we really don't know the true story of how they got access to his website.
Yeah, well, the good news is there are people who are working on defending Ross Ulbricht and his alleged partner, Andrew Jones. You can donate to support their legal defense fund at drewsdefense.org. That's where you can support Andrew Jones. He's not getting as much media attention as Ross Ulbricht. You've probably already heard about Dread Pirate Roberts, but you may not have heard of Inigo, allegedly this man, Andrew Jones, who is under house arrest at his parents' house. They put up $1 million bail from their own savings, retirement, and put up their house so that they could get him out of jail. He's facing all the same charges as Ross, except for the like criminal conspiracy to murder charges. And you can support him with this QR code here on your screen. Learn more about him at drewsdefense.org. I'm also throwing a party. If you're going to be in the Keene area around Halloween, throwing a Halloween costume dance party. It's going to be a lot of fun. Lasers, fog machines. We're renting out a hotel ballroom, so it's going to be huge. Lots of fun. Bring your own drugs, and I mean, never mind. But make sure they're in your body already. Don't show up with anything that's that could be confiscated. And all the proceeds go to support Drew's defense. So drewsdefense.org. Kick him some Bitcoin. He needs your help. Any other
That's very cool.
you've got for the people?
We've
Yeah.
got a question from Hattori Hanzo, the famous sword maker from the Kill Bill movies, I guess. And he writes to us on Twitter, do you guys know what happened with the Satoshi Nakamoto hacked email situation? That news just disappeared. And I'm pretty sure that he's right. It did disappear because we don't really have an update. What we know is that Satoshi's email was on a kind of a public email provider, something like GMX or GMK, I think GMX.com, and that it was definitely hacked. Somebody got into it. They released screenshots of the inbox. They forwarded emails that had been unseen to Bitcoin developers, kind of proving that they had access. And then after that, the account was shut down, presumably by GMX.com themselves, and emails sent to the accounts are bounced back as undeliverable. There was some news for a while that allegedly Satoshi was negotiating with the hacker, perhaps willing to pay a ransom, but of course, I'm sure Satoshi or the Satoshi team knows that once you start paying a ransom to someone, you have to keep paying the ransom. They're always going to want more. They're never going to really give up what they have on you. It's a horrible situation to be in. It might be better just to find the hacker and take care of them. But it's grown really quiet. We haven't heard anything. Presumably that means that Satoshi will not be unmasked. They did have that one bill for an FPGA monitor that was sent to St. Louis. We hope that for Satoshi's sake that was a dead drop or a friend's house or an old address or any of those things. But we don't know. And there just hasn't been any more information about it. So either the hacker got their bounty, shutting up, or they realized it was too big of a mess and maybe they shouldn't have stuck their nose in there. I know that Roger Ver had his email account hacked, had some Bitcoin stolen, and he put a bounty out on it, and he believes that this may be the same hacker. So I think he doubled or
BitcoinBounty.com.
Bitcoin Bounty. Let's check that out. So yeah, and it's also Roger Ver was starting like a kind of like the assassination service where popular bounties. So, and here it is, like Derek said, Bitcoin Bounty. Do you have it up?
Yeah.
All right, so he's got Satoshi and Roger Ver hacker. Wow, $14,515. That'd be nice. You can get $808 or $818. Sorry for catching the Mt. Gox money. Bitcoinica has an 882 reward to whoever stole thousands of BTC from Bitcoinica and Zhao Tonged. So there's a nice Zhao Tonged reference there. And check out Roger Ver's video if you want more information about your bounty. Email them at askbitcoinbountyhunter.com. So sounds cool.
We have some comments from the Q&A section.
All right.
Video asks, I thought China was a communist state. Why do they have Black Friday-like events? Good question, Infinite Radio.
China has a very unique form of communism. That is, it's not very communist at all anymore. They've pretty much adapted and slid down into a kind of a capitalist, I forget the word, but there's a small number of people in charge. Yeah. So yeah, whatever they need to do is whatever they need to do.
Every country is fascist now. Like, there's no country that can really survive not being fascist because they see the benefit that capitalism provides, but then they want to still have ownership over everything that happens. So they're like, oh, okay, well, we'll let a little bit of freedom for these markets that we like, and then we'll crush everything that we don't like, and that's fascism. So that's what the whole world has. Hopefully we can break free of it. Question from Infinite Radio. Did you have to use the new Golden Gate Bridge toll system?
No, I came over the Bay Bridge, and I did use Fast Track, which is a convenient system to get through the toll booth faster. I think what he's referring to on the Golden Gate Bridge is that they no longer have cash toll booths. So if you don't have a Fast Track, which is a little radio receiver type system, if you don't have one of those, they take a picture of your license plate and they just send you a bill to your house. They no longer use a toll system. And I did go through one of these when I was driving through New Jersey, and I was in a rental car, so I had no way to link the license plate to myself, and I wondered what would happen. And it turns out that I found out what would happen. The government overcharges you for going through the toll booth. The rental car company overcharges you for going through the toll booth, and a few months later, they send you a note in the mail saying that, yeah, we still have your credit card, and we went ahead and charged you, $20 for a $5 toll because you had no other option because they don't have any change system. So yeah, these systems are very bad if you go over them in a rental car and you have no option. It just takes a picture of your license plate. Obviously, you don't own a rental car, and then they all just take advantage of you. So it's a new system, part of new cruelty.
Yeah, I wish there were some bridges that were privately owned. Like if I could build my own bridge across the way and just charge what I felt was fair, I bet I would be able to undercut the rates of the bridges around me, and people would just prefer to choose mine. Or
well, they are phenomenal bridges. The new span of the Bay Bridge is absolutely breathtaking. It's supported by large pillars.
I'm not saying they're bad bridges. I'm just saying I want more choices.
The issue out here is always whenever they build new roads, we get a bunch of new people and new cars to fill those new roads. And it always seems really ridiculous. I would just say, why don't you put BART or a train system down the center of that freeway instead of keep doing what you're doing? But
it's a good question. Yeah, if only we could let the market decide. Where do you submit the answer to your pen and paper mining experiment? Asks James Richens on the Q&A.
I have no idea.
I don't even know what that means. What mining experiment?
Well, presumably when he gets to the end of the hash that he actually has proof of work.
Now that you've got the hash, now what? Where do you send it? Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know. I guess
I'm not sure there's that many people mining with pen and paper. It's probably a very small group.
Right. But if you do...
I wish Will was here. Will said that he did some pen and paper mining back in the day, so it's interesting. But here's the new span of the Bay Bridge. You can see the old bridge off to the left, and it's mainly this large pillar here, and then the suspension bridge system. It's absolutely stunning. It's a beautiful, beautiful bridge. So.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
And it often gets no love over the Golden Gate, but hopefully the new span will change this. And this connects San Francisco to Oakland, Berkeley, and of course much further on to Sacramento. So,
excellent, good, nice bridge.
Yeah, I like bridges and skyscrapers, even though they're expensive.
You should like Ayn Rand then, but no one does.
I do like Ayn Rand. I read The Fountainhead twice.
Okay, all right, cool.
I like it. I mean, it's just her philosophy is incompatible with real life, and I think she found that out when
her philosophy. I'm just saying she's like obsessed with bridges and skyscrapers. So it's like I don't know, the only person I think of when I hear those things. What else is going on in the world of Bitcoin? Is that it? Is that all we got in the world? I'm throwing it down.
Man can hold fire in his hand. Man has conquered fire. Look at the cigarette. Good old Ayn Rand.
Yes, exactly. So, what else? Bitcoin stuff. Do we have anything else? Is that it? Should we wrap up?
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Go over to Cointelegraph, see what's going on. I did an episode this morning, but it was like 6 o'clock. It's hard to remember what I said. Let me go see what Mad Bitcoin said about Bitcoin today. I'm sure he had something to say.
We should play a Mad Bitcoins episode in Bitcoin Talk Show. Would we get flagged for that?
Probably. There's no end to the things they'll flag you for. And,
I don't care. I always play it anyway.
Yeah, but you don't want to. It puts this mark on our thing where it says they'll take away our live streams if we play copyrighted material. Not that I believe Mad Bitcoins is copyrighted material. Yeah, fortunately you can still do that. That's one of the few.
That's how I feel. That's how I feel about their copyright censorship nonsense.
Oh yeah, it's coming back to me now, the Mad Bitcoins episode. So we had a quote from Nasdaq.com where one of their columnists said that Bitcoin is now a real currency, and I think he was impressed with the way the feds took on Butterfly Labs, and he was also impressed with Circle and the way that the Circle system allegedly, and we'll have to see how this goes, allegedly has insurance for your Bitcoins. So if you were hacked from Circle...
Sorry, stop. Repeat that. You're breaking up a little bit. Can you repeat what you just said?
Circle said that they have insurance for your Bitcoins.
I don't buy it. Don't store your private keys with anyone but yourself.
Absolutely, but there's been, horrible tragedies and disasters. While I was out in D.C. at the D.C. convention, I met this lovely woman with a single woman with 5 kids, and she used to have 30 Bitcoins in Coinbase, and because she went to the convention and used public Wi-Fi, this is a good note, don't use public Wi-Fi at conventions, especially with Bitcoin. When she got home, somebody took all of her Bitcoin. So if Coinbase, perhaps if they'd had their vault system then, maybe she would have been more protected. And if she was in Circle, this is where it gets interesting and curious for me, perhaps they would have paid her on the insurance. But I don't know how much due diligence you have to do on your part. If you have your computer and it's an unpatched Windows machine, if you don't have two-factor authentication on your Gmail, if you don't have an email system that has two-factor, if you didn't put two-factor on your Square or Coinbase account, is it your fault? Are you going to have to prove that it's not your fault? I'm not sure at all, but the idea of insurance on Bitcoin is an interesting idea.
That is an interesting idea. I can dig it. Would you use it? I only trust myself. I'm not trusting other companies with my private keys.
I have my, alas, losing value Bitcoins on paper. So they're still worth, one Bitcoin is still worth one Bitcoin though. So that part of it has worked out for me. I haven't lost any value in the Bitcoin. But we also had a story this morning about the Bitcoin embassy concept, which they say is taking the world by storm, having a local place where you can go in and ask questions about Bitcoin, maybe see a little presentation about Bitcoin, perhaps a good place for Bitcoin AMs. So Bitcoin Embassy sounds cool. It works in with the idea of Bitcoin being the currency of a foreign country, the foreign country of the internet. It's a very important country that we should protect net neutrality.
Then shouldn't the embassy also be on the internet?
Shouldn't what be on the internet, Derek? Sorry.
Shouldn't the embassy also be on the internet?
I could just a website or something. But I mean, I think they're just trying to have physical spaces for the meetups and for the
meetups,
a storefront kind of thing.
I guess because
we're joined by Theo Goodman. How's it going, Theo?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Theo.
Yeah, I know they have an embassy in Tel Aviv. I've heard about it, and I don't know where else they have an embassy. I mean, I talked about it with some people before, but of course it never really happened. I mean, you have to rent a space and have a lot of funds to keep it maintained. I think in Berlin, I don't think it's really an embassy. It's more like a co-working place, but it just opened. I forgot what it's called. It's not called embassy. And I don't think it has really a storefront per se, but I think it's pretty open. And so it's a similar idea, except it's missing that kind of storefront atmosphere that you're talking about. But that is kind of a cool idea, I think. I mean, I think like a co-working space is also a pretty cool idea. If everyone is doing something with crypto, then it's pretty easy to concentrate, and there's probably like a lot of people that you can work with together, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's what it's supposed to be. I mean, Chris does these broadcasts from the Google campus, he calls it, which is a co-working space, but it's like from Google, and he says that it's okay, and he goes there sometimes, but I think that it also can be really cool to have a place like that. It's just like a shared office space where you just have in a big open room, have a bunch of tables, and then like you should have like a quiet room and like a room where you're allowed to talk, and then like people can work on their computers if you don't need like a whole office, but you don't want to work at home. That's what that is. And then you have like a storefront, and I guess that's like the embassy part. And that sounds, I don't know, it sounds cool. If anyone wants to start one in Frankfurt. No, but anyway, I think you guys, when I tuned in, you guys were talking about the doing SHA-256 by hand, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
That is really cool. I love that. That's
Why
great.
do you love that?
What now?
Why?
Why? Well, first of all, sometimes people say, Theo, how does mining work? And if I don't feel like explaining it too technical, I just say, well, it's a really hard mathematical equation that the miners try to solve. And now I've got this really cool video, and I can be like, okay, this is what the miners are doing, and this guy does it and he said in one day he could do like 0.5 gigahash or whatever, or mega hash, or I don't know.
No. One hash.
One hash
He
a
can
day in a day, or how 1 hash a day?
Yes, about 2/3 of one hash in a day.
Okay, so and then I could compare that. I could show them what he's doing, and then say, okay, you see this little USB thing I have, or you see this big black box. That does it this much faster, and that's basically all the box is doing, and all the boxes in the whole world are just competing to do that faster, so you can really see it on a low level. I mean, I don't know, I was thinking, wow, I wonder if I could make like a totally paper offline coin where you have to mine by hand, but I don't know if that's possible, because I don't know.
No way, I'm not interested in that. Who wants that coin? Difficult coin? Hard to use coin?
Really difficult coin. It's called primitive coin.
Yeah, seriously.
And it's environmentally friendly.
No, it is not.
And it's a job creator, because you have to have a lot of people writing. You'd have like these factories full of people with pencils hashing. No, I'm just joking. But I think it would be a cool. It would be
the medieval scribes. Like there's like endless pieces of paper just scrolling on as they do these numbers all day from their desks, and just endless scrolls of paper and numbers. They're just bent over and their backs are breaking, and they're producing hashes for Theo's coin.
It's not my coin. I was just going to have the idea. It would be the network's coin, of course. But what I was saying is that I don't know how you would, by hand, have that, like, well, you'd have to enter the transactions into the ledger and all that, and do all that by hand. That's like a whole other step that they don't show in the video. They just show the basic, how to hash. But I mean, it would be interesting. I mean, I think one thing is just a useful tool to show people that are like, if they know a lot about math or they understand that kind of stuff, but they don't get financial things. I've met people like that. Then I could show them that video, and they might get it, and they might kind of be interested from that point of view. So I thought that was really cool. And yeah, I don't know. I just like, yeah, maybe from a non-utility point of view, it would be really cool to make a little like project. Trying to do like a ledger by hand, but cryptographic by hand. I mean, I don't know if I'm good enough to do it. I don't know if I have enough time. I could play around with it, but I just think it would be an interesting project and just see what comes out of it. Sometimes when you start things that seem really unreasonable, really cool stuff comes out of it. Not always. Most of the time it doesn't. But sometimes you stumble across really cool ideas by doing stuff like that.
I thought of an even better idea. You use child labor. Trick them into thinking that it's like a math assignment for homework, that they'd work on it, and that every day they could do an hour of hashing in class, and make them do this every day, and make them all good at it, and then they would be perfect for your scribe system.
Child labor? You mean youth employment? We got some comments from the chat. Chad Crypto writes, personally, I didn't get excited about Bitcoin until I found out about altcoins. The Dogecoin got me moving back in January of 2014, so that is very exciting. He says, I believe the reasons, or one of the reasons why people create altcoins is so they can try to recreate the success of Bitcoin, get on it early, and they win. Then again, it looks like most of the time many are scams or pump and dumps. And this is in reference to what Thomas was saying earlier about why Reddit is creating their own cryptocurrency as part of their funding mechanism. And I guess they're trying to make more money off of developing their own cryptocurrency than they would by just integrating Bitcoin.
They're claiming it's a reward currency, but if it was just a reward, why wouldn't they use Bitcoin, which is like money? If they're going to create something, they're going to own it, and if they're going to own it, who's going to get to hold the bag? It's not going to be me.
I agree. Chad Crypto says, it's been a crazy learning adventure ever since. Thanks to all the World Crypto Network's news and education. Good work, guys. Awesome. Thanks, Chad Crypto. Thanks for listening. Tweet this episode and others out to your friends so they know how great Bitcoin is. And hey, Theo, the topic that we started with today was Bitcoin. Is it dead? Its price is rapidly approaching zero, right?
Right. Well, we can just go to isbitcoindead.com and you can have your question answered. We haven't done that yet, I guess. But
No, we did.
and by the way, I don't own that site. It's an inspirational site. I thought of making some other funny ones like that, but I thought that's just a brilliant site. Yeah, okay, the price is down, but you know what? I don't have any charts, so but that's okay. We don't need charts. It has kind of I forgot the exact number, but I think it went down to like 370 or 365 on Bitstamp, and kind of played around, fooled around that area, and now it went back up a little bit. So that area was, so if you Thomas, if you zoom out and then look at how low it was in like April 15th or something like that, it's about the same. So you get this really big bubble. See that?
No, right now Thomas is. Oh, are you zooming out? Yeah, I guess you are.
Yeah. So you can see April 15th. There was this the last big China FUD happened, and there was like this deadline, and they're finally going to ban it by this day, and all this kind of bullshit. And so anyway, it hasn't gone lower than that. If it were to go lower than that, then we could expect, I don't know, off the top of my head, but even lower prices, of course. Lower, if you gets lower, it gets lower. No, I'm just joking.
And I really think this is good news. Like, I like low Bitcoin prices because I want to buy them. Like, I want to be like, I don't think they're going away. I think Bitcoin is going to continue to be integrated into payment systems like PayPal, different websites. People are going to be using this. It's just the next step in payments. It's a no-brainer, and it's not going.
That's one part of the discussion going on. Is some people are saying that more volume and more adaptation doesn't mean a higher price. We don't know for sure. This is all really short-term stuff. But some people are analyzing it and saying, yeah, that doesn't mean more adoption, and all that doesn't mean a higher price necessarily, which could be true. Also, there's another. On the other hand, we have the price we see on the chart, and so there was an interesting article. I forgot the guy's name, and it's from our favorite website, CoinDesk, of course. But anyway, I got into a little Twitter discussion, and it was pretty interesting. So basically, the article is trying to say, right now at the moment in the over-the-counter markets, there's still a really big premium being paid for Bitcoin. So that means if you want to buy from someone locally, like over local Bitcoins or some other means, if you just know somebody like a broker or someone that sells Bitcoins, you're still going to pay a big premium. And so the prices are there, they say. And people are claiming really big premiums sometimes. I'm talking over 10%. But I think 10% seems realistic. 5% is normal, and up to 10% is possible. And there's a big demand. The thing is, it's hard to track this, so it's just kind of hearsay. But it seems like there's still a lot of demand in the so-called over-the-counter market, and that won't show up in these charts because it's not traded on an exchange. So that is really interesting. And so what happened was the guy was posting, oh yeah, I've got people, they paid some guy in China, he sold, 20 Bitcoins for $560 each. And I said, hey, if you guys want to buy some Bitcoin from me for $560, then just send me a message, okay? And I thought, no one would answer. And then it just turned out to be this big thing, and then these guys are all of a sudden doing all these over-the-counter deals just publicly on Twitter. They're like, okay, I'll buy 10 Bitcoins from you for this price. And apparently they did 2 or 3 deals, just on my Twitter. And so all that shows is that there's demand, and it also shows that that's what they were saying also. They were saying you don't need exchanges, that, we always forget that, or some people forget that you don't need exchanges to do this. You can do all this stuff person to person, and you don't have to rely on the exchanges. And that's a whole nother market that's not being tracked by people. Whether there's a big demand or what the volume is, I have no idea, because there's no real independent way to track it, I think. I mean, you can track local Bitcoins, but I think that's only the tip of the iceberg, I think. What do you guys think?
Well, and let's remember that we do have some positive news out there. The second market ETF is still out there. I think there being an ETF, and the Winklevi ETF is still out there, a direct-to-public way to buy Bitcoins like you would buy stocks, so you could have some Bitcoin in your 401k. Those are both positive announcements we have coming in the future. But remember, we have a negative announcement coming up, too. Mr. Losky, Fernando Losky from New York, is going to announce his BIT license. That's probably going to have a negative effect on the market. The Silk Road trial could also probably have a negative effect on the market, bringing all that publicity back up. So a couple positives, couple negatives, and it's just news. And we never know, will news actually affect the market? Because recently we've had nothing but good news. Overstock, Tiger Direct, Dish Networks, PayPal, eBay, all these Uber, Airbnb, all these companies starting to accept Bitcoin, starting to build applications, build their applications. Phenomenally good news. The price is way down. So it's not always news-based.
Hey, you mentioned Ben Losky from the New York regulators who is introducing the world to the concept of a BIT license. I was wondering if you guys have gotten yours yet.
Actually, I do have my wallet right here. Let me see if I can find it.
I have one.
Well, I have mine because I have approximately 999 million bit license coins that I've created in the Doge Party system. So I definitely have my license.
Well, you gotta get one of these, Theo, from Bitcoin Not Bombs, and you can tip me right there through the card.
Then I'm official.
This is I've got
this
intergalactic
count.
BIT license. Let's see it, Theo. It's got a QR code. It's just a little book.
No. It's an authentic red book. I had it earlier when we were talking about China.
Oh, I got one of those.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's a real one. It's like a real one that I got when I was in China.
Mine's in English. Yeah, I read it. It was in English, but
I've gone over that too. But I was like, oh wow, I've got that thing. We're talking about China. What chapter does it talk how to quell revolts or something? You know, I haven't really looked at it enough.
I want to plug these because I haven't plugged it enough that you can get your own intergalactic Bitcoin license at bitcoinnotbombs.com, and it reads that the bearer of this card has a natural and inalienable right to financial freedom and privacy. This includes, but is not limited to, possession, transfer, transmission, uttering, passing, laundering, mining, hoarding, sending, receiving, and earning of Bitcoin. And you can see it's a pretty attractive card. I can keep it in my wallet, and anytime someone wants to pay me in Bitcoin, it's easy to pull up the QR code. I don't have to enter any pins. I don't have to open any apps. I just give them my QR code, and they can scan it and send me Bitcoin. Go get your...
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I like that. So you just have a public key, and you can show someone that, and they can send you Bitcoins, and you don't have to have your wallet. I mean, theoretically, you could just have them show you on their phone the transaction in the blockchain or whatever, and you could say, okay, that's enough for me.
Yep.
You know, so that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, or if it's
while we're plugging Bitcoin Not Bombs, I got my new Rebel hoodie last night. It's a nice hooded sweatshirt. I also got a hat, but I left the hat in the car. So these are at bitcoinnotbombs.com. Very cool stuff.
Cool, I dig it.
I found my Chairman Mao book to show Theo, but it is English, so it's not as legit as yours, but it's got the same little Bible-thin pages. And I keep my Chairman Mao book.
I have one too. It's really a great read.
You guys keep a copy of Mein Kampf? I mean, this is really strange for me to see. Why do you guys have this book?
Well, I was never a Maoist, but I mean, okay. Well, first of all, I've never been a Maoist, but let's see. What have I?
I saw people still singing praises of Chairman Mao. It was so ridiculous.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, because in Germany, people are embarrassed about the Holocaust. They're ashamed of their support for Hitler. But in China, I mean, wow, people are still bowing down, saying, "Yay, we love Mao. Wish he would return and kill millions more people." Like, really? This is still.
You have to remember what an incredible cult of personality Mao formed with the Long March. Mao was not supported. He was all alone with his people, and he marched across the mountains, losing a great number of his people to the cold, to the lack of supplies. But he defeated the British and the Americans, which were trying to hold on to old China. He was not supposed to win that war, and he won it. And after he won it, he reshaped China in his image. I mean, I've read this book, and I thought it was interesting. It reminds me of Machiavelli, The Prince, power for its own sake, the ends justify the means. And while we study these people, we don't want to emulate them. I mean, I have copies of all kinds of horrible books. I haven't read Mein Kampf. I've read a lot of other books about Hitler and World War II, though. So, I mean, I am pretty well up on what he was into. And I don't know. You just have to study these large thought movements and see what people are up to. And when you're done doing that, you can always check out 101 Uses for a Dead Cat. It's an excellent cartoon book.
Hey,
Well,
speaking of dead cats, did you guys see one of the uses of a dead cat recently was to stuff and attach him to a drone, so like a surveillance drone. So this cat is like flying around parks and stuff, and people are like, "Oh, look, a cat!" and it's cute. You know, you want to go up to a cat, so it's friendly for a drone. Hey, we got another comment from Infinite Radio who says, "Does anyone find it interesting that Reddit gets $50 million in funding after the fappening incidents?" Hold on, puts on tinfoil hat. What if Reddit sold out to the man?
Well, I hate to break it to you, but Reddit, founded in 2005, sold out to the man in October of 2006, when Reddit, the website, and this is their worst decision ever, was acquired by Condé Nast Publications, a magazine publisher which published Wired magazine. Condé Nast was taken by this company called Advance Publications in September of 2011, and now, allegedly, according to the wiki, as of August 2012, Reddit operates as an independent entity, whatever that means, although Advance is still its largest shareholder. So Reddit, while it's completely user-driven, I love the up-down vote system. I like all the branding. There's all kinds of what I think good people are there until I submit my stuff and they all hate it. Other than that, like, I love Reddit, but it is totally and completely owned. So let's not forget that.
Worm.
And now they have $50 million. And remember, they did shut down the fapping Reddits. It took them a while. They didn't seem to want to do it, and I get that. But they did shut them down. So maybe this is a reward for shutting them down. Although certainly they spread the word, and they spread the word about everything. That's what a link website like Reddit or Dig before it did. And we should all remember there's...
Sorry to interrupt. Didn't Aaron Schwartz start Reddit?
He was one of the early founders.
Okay.
He's not. They list Steve Huffman and Alexis Ohanian here as the two founders, but I think Aaron Schwartz was very early involved. I'm not sure he's not listed here. He was, of course, Aaron. Between about 2005 and January 2006, Reddit merged with Aaron Schwartz's company Infogami, and Schwartz became an equal owner of the resulting parent company, Bug. So it does seem like he was folded in. It received initial funding from Y Combinator, so Silicon Valley has had money in Reddit for a long time, and it makes sense if you think about Reddit's a website that gets hundreds of thousands, millions of hits, I'm sure, every day, and that's an incredible server bill. So I imagine in the early days they were desperate to get this server bill paid. As you know, as everyone knows, they haven't switched to a BitTorrent model. They're still using this web server model, which enriches the people who own the servers. It's totally unnecessary. We have BitTorrent. All we need is a client that would serve the articles through BitTorrent, and we could all subscribe to your Reddits, get your articles on.
You've got a project. You've got something you can build, Thomas. You could build that.
I've always talked about this, but I've always talked about linking BitTorrent to blogs, and even before Bitcoin,
I don't understand the idea. Can you hash it out a little bit for me, Thomas? I don't understand what you're saying.
Okay, well, my first example is Facebook, right? I don't need a central server called Facebook to have access to all my posts. What I need is my friends to have access to all my posts. So my posts should be encrypted on a torrent system then my friends could download my post by subscribing to me. So my post would be encrypted to like friend to where they could get in, but then other people couldn't get in. But then there'd be this system where, like MadeSafe, people could host your data online for you. So there's now a dark net of data where it's encrypted, you don't know what it is, but you're hosting it. And once that starts happening, we don't need this web server model where every time I refresh a web page, somebody pays a quarter, right? Every single time, something like that's happening. They have that Akami system. They have the upgraded back ends. They have the, we're getting a bunch of traffic switch over, buy a bunch of new servers, virtual servers, all the different solutions they've come up for this. None of them are as elegant as BitTorrent. The core of BitTorrent is that the more popular something is, the easier it is to download. The core of websites and web servers is the more popular it is, the more money people spend hosting it, and the more likely it is to go down. BitTorrent changes all that.
That's a great point. I totally follow where you're coming from. Is there anyone working on this?
I think MadeSafe is really close to this. When I read about the MadeSafe idea, I heard about it, after Bitcoin through the various Bitcoin networks. I really liked the idea. It reminded me of what I was thinking about in 2002, 2003. My roommate and I used to have endless discussions and tons of notes and just really trying to flesh this idea out. But we weren't as good then as we are now with just outright sharing our ideas. Now I'm much more about trying to give everything away, and maybe somebody smarter than me could come along and help me out and make that system, and I could benefit by using that system. People are saying now one of the things that's coming up is, well, someone told me there was a working one last night. I haven't checked it out, but the way to stream video live in a web browser over torrents. That's something we really need right here at the World Crypto Network. If we could have that going, we wouldn't be so reliant on Google and YouTube for our archives. I'm not sure about live, but you could definitely watch an archive video in your web browser. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Wow, this is terrific.
What was I going to say next?
It reminds me of MadeSafe. MadeSafe is sort of a similar concept of distributing websites. I guess.
And MadeSafe links back to one of my ideas, was that there's too much hard drive space. Like, I mean, I knew I was filling up all my hard drives, but I know all these normal users were getting these huge gigabyte hard drives, and they didn't really have anything to do with them. So I was like, well, if they had some data that was mine, data that was your friends, and data that was your friends of friends, kind of dark net data, then they could really use those drives and use their internet connection. Because I'm sure you guys know, if you use a torrent browser like uTorrent, you can adjust how much bandwidth you're giving to your torrents. So even if you set it down to a small amount download and a small amount upload, and especially if we're talking about text files here, because one of the things about torrents is people are usually getting music or movies or programs, like really large files. We need to think about torrents for small files, is what I think, like text, like Facebook status posts, that kind of thing. Once it's in a torrent and once it's encrypted, then there's no centralized Facebook server that can just search through all your posts. Only your friends could search your posts. So if one of your friends went rogue, they could search your posts and like publish it or something, but that seems unlikely, and if you trust your friends, it's a trust network. So.
Hey, I am being notified that there's an important meeting which I have to go to attend, but it's relevant to the World Crypto Network, and here's why. This is something that you could probably do in your hometown if you're listening to this show or watching along on YouTube. Most towns have a public access channel where you can submit content that you like or want to show. Usually, if it's commercial free, public access channels will have no problem putting it on the air for no fee. And Bitcoin Talk Show certainly has no advertising. Many of the shows on World Crypto Network, I think, have no advertising. So if you like any of these shows and you would like to share them with the people in your community, submit them as content for your local TV station. It's free here where I live. It's free in many places. So that's what I'm going to go do. I'm going to go ask that some World Crypto Network content be syndicated on my local TV station. It's free, and I'm going to go make that happen. So wish me luck, guys.
Cool. Go for it.
That's very cool.
All right. Peace.
Okay, great.
Are we gonna end the show?
Oh, I don't know. It's up to you, I
He
guess.
left it. He left us with the show. I don't have a
Okay.
stop broadcast button, so I'm not
Okay.
sure how long it's gonna go.
Okay. Well, I think if we were to later, whenever we want, if we both hang up, I guess it'll go away. We're good at improvising. I don't think he hit
If
stop,
anyone's
so I
still
guess it's
listening,
too
then
live.
put some questions up. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was
No,
gonna
I
go
see.
for another 20 minutes, but I don't have any topics ready. What do you have going on,
Well,
Theo?
well, I think I already talked about the OTC market, and you were talking about MadeSafe, and I had my computer was freaking out. But there's also the other project called Storage, and it's not like MadeSafe exactly, but it's about decentrally storing files, and theoretically, streaming and all that stuff. And it's also about what you were talking about using extra hard drive space that you don't have a use for. So instead of mining, you would just have big hard drives or whatever. And I think MadeSafe is a similar concept as far as that goes. As far as the pictures I saw with like all of these little hard drives connected to the network, and they're all stored. I mean, they both use different systems, but it's a similar concept. I think MadeSafe is going more for the whole thing about being anonymous, and Storage is more for like I don't really know if it's anonymous per se, but you earn
I think
storage.
the main thing about storage is that it's kind of a Dropbox replacement. That right now a
Exactly.
lot of us have gotten kind of heavily addicted to Dropbox, and we've violated a lot of our own security by putting files in there that we probably should put in there, and they're getting stored out to a third party that we can't really trust because they don't encrypt things in the way that they could. Because remember, it's like the blockchain wallet versus the Coinbase wallet. Blockchain uses an incredibly, to me, complex system where they don't actually hold your keys. You have an identifier, you have a little encrypted locker maybe on your computer, you hold the keys there, you come in, they can't get to your keys, they can't get to your money. Coinbase is the exact opposite. They hold your keys, you don't really have bitcoins there, you have tokens in their system similar to the tokens used by Mt. Gox, and if something happens there, all your tokens are gone, and more importantly, because they have access to your keys, they have access to your account, so they can look through
Yeah.
it. And we used to be able to say, oh, they'd never do that, they'd never betray us like that, but no, they've pretty much betrayed everyone with this gambling website thing. If you send money to a known gambling website, perhaps this is the gambling website's fault for reusing the same addresses or some kind of thing, they should be more secure. If you send money to a gambling website, Coinbase will shut your account down. And a lot of people are afraid that Dropbox could do the same thing, that they could be saying, oh, this is a pirated file, or oh, you don't own access
Right.
to this Word document, and then suddenly you can't do your work anymore. It's a
Yeah.
pretty big deal. So
So
something like
there's already
storage or
there's already Mega. Mega from Kim.com is already a pretty good alternative to Dropbox. So they also use encryption. I mean, you have to take care of your password, but I think it works very similar to blockchain info, where they don't have your password, because it gives all these special disclaimers like, hey, once you lose your password, sorry, that's it. And of course, we know Mega Upload got shut down, and we know why they got or who shut them down and stuff. So Kim.com was like, okay, screw this. We're going to do it different. We're going to do it encrypted, and I don't even know what the hell you're uploading. Okay, it's not exactly the same with the streaming stuff, but it's more like Dropbox. And you see a lot of coins and other things use it for their wallet downloads and stuff because people trust it more, and they don't want to have the issue if someone says, hey, that we don't want to have that or whatever, and it's like censored. So there's already that.
or worst case, someone could be inserting a Trojan into your wallet. They could be putting
For
tracking
example.
code into there at a
For
very high
example.
level. Of course, the service would have to be completely compromised. But remember, all of these services are black boxes. They don't
Yeah.
tell us what's going on inside them, and we don't know.
Yeah.
So as much as I want to say this and this, it's all good, we have no idea. We just can't say until they show us,
Sure.
and they don't want to show us because of trade secrets, and it probably makes it easier to hack if you show everyone. But if you show everyone, then maybe someone will hack it and you could fix it. Things could get better, we could improve. But that's the age-old Linux versus Windows type argument, open source versus closed
So
source.
So I know some people that work for like some